It's funny because Microsoft seems to make a lot of choices, and they seem to make choices that don't make a lot of sense overall. I'm not saying that everything that they do is wrong, but it does feel like they do a lot of things that are curiously bad, I guess would be the best way to put it. And, just from where I'm kind of looking at things and kind of, seeing how they've handled this entire debacle with all the lies and stuff like that, the just for games and this kind of stuff, it does make you kind of think a bit about, what their future is going to hold and how that's going to work out in terms of, how long are they going to stick with it? Are developers going to be able to, work on Xbox native games? I think it's like little things that kind of add up, and I know we have to wait for like official, reports and things like that from Microsoft, and I think that's smart. I can understand it, and listen, there's still going to be some good Xbox stuff. I mean, I'm hoping that the games at least themselves can be good. It does feel like Microsoft has completely given up on like the actual console itself, but they'll have something, probably some kind of PC or something that's going to be out there. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be something that I'm going to be interested in. But if you're interested in it, hey, you know what? If people can game however they want, that's something that I'll always kind of say, like you can do what you want. It's like people can, and that's the great thing about gaming. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, I feel like Microsoft does say a lot of things out of their ass, and I'm not a fan of that, right? It's like you can just tell how schmarmy some of the stuff is. Like I did a video about it, but like Phil Spencer's like, no, Forza Motorsport's not dead, and it very much reminded me of other times he said stuff like that. Like, and this is still the last official announcement on Phantom Dust, which was a game that was in development for the Xbox One way back in like 2015, 2016, and his last official statement was, "Oh, that game's still alive. It's still alive." Right? That was, and so that's why that kind of reminded me of that. I think that it's interesting because clearly we're starting to see a situation where they're just going to try to placate people. Just like when they talk about Banjo-Kazooie, yeah, I love Banjo. Banjo could come back at any time. Like, we know there's not going to be another Banjo or Conker or any of that stuff. Unfortunately, Microsoft is only going to do games that are going to sell extremely well and things like that. And I think that doesn't really leave much room for some of the smaller games and things like that. So, like I said, that's a super unfortunate situation, but at the same point in time, they're very they don't treat fans like they respect the fans, and I think that's probably like a big problem that I have. It's like they say ridiculous things like we don't know better, and I know people won't believe this or whatever, but I've talked to Phil a couple times in my life, and just even recently, I was like, man, I know you're probably not going to respond to this, and I sent him a message. I was like, but you guys are liars. I was like, and you treat your fans like they're stupid, because last February you guys sat up there and said that it was just 4 games and it's not a fundamental change to your exclusivity strategy, etc., but you knew at that point that it was a lie. You were up there lying to fans, and for you guys to come out and say stuff like, oh, well, people don't really care, they're not really tied, or they don't really care about the things that they play their games on anymore. That's a lie, because if that was true, you wouldn't have to have done that show in the first place. Same thing with people not wanting exclusives. If you knew that if you thought people really thought exclusives were antiquated, then you wouldn't have to come out there and placate people and say it was just 4 games. Now, this is funny to me because you have an ex-Xbox employee saying, go tell Nintendo that exclusives are antiquated, which I think is hilarious. Xbox obviously has been making headlines with the news that Halo Campaign Evolved will be making its way to PS5 in addition to Xbox. Halo has always seemed like the last bastion of exclusivity for Microsoft's platform, and now that is going multi-platform next year, it really seems like all bets are off. To really drive the point home, Xbox President Sarah Bond recently said that consoles exclusives is an antiquated concept, noting that the biggest games in the world are available everywhere. The statement comes as a brand that continues to push its This Is Xbox marketing campaign, promoting gaming across multiple devices. Not everyone agrees, of course, and ex-Blizzard president Mike Ibarra is seemingly quite against the idea. In a post on X social media, he said, "Someone go tell Nintendo that exclusives are antiquated." When another user challenged the statement, Ibarra doubled down and explained that Nintendo has thrived on console exclusivity, deeming that the company's strategy of risk and return a big success, saying, quote, "Nintendo has continually dominated with outstanding games. Sure, some platforms flopped, but they always took a risk and came back very strong. It is the opposite of antiquated. It is a risk in return." Xbox has recently reiterated its support for the Switch 2, with CEO of Microsoft Gaming Phil Spencer stating, "If there are people who want to play our games on PlayStation 5 or Nintendo Switch 2, we would love for them to play our games on those platforms." Halo Combat Evolved, or Campaign Evolved, has not been confirmed for Switch 2, but we know that Nintendo likes to keep their kind of announcements for direct presentations. That's to say it won't happen, etc., etc. But anyway, like for me, just kind of looking at this, I don't know. It's like, it's an Unreal Engine 5 game. Can that even run on Switch? Maybe with a bunch of concessions, I'm not sure. But, again, you have a situation where, like, Mike's being 100% honest with this. It's realistically something that we're starting to see kind of happen more and more as Xbox fans realistically are kind of giving up on the platform. And I hope that we can continue to get some things out of Microsoft that can showcase it or whatever. Like, most of my hope is kind of dying on this right now, mostly because it's just one of those situations where Microsoft seems to be going further away from an actual console, and I'm not really interested in a PC. I know, like, people will go, well, they're almost basically a PC anyway. It's like there's a huge differences for me. I think, like, the closed system, and I prefer, and I will pay to play online, because you're paying for that security of not having to play against PC players, which are notoriously cheat and things like that. And it's like, if you're blurring the lines between that, then it's honestly just one of those things that you have to kind of just say, well, where does that leave me as a console fan? Like, I don't want to play against keyboard and mouse, and even if you switch inputs, that doesn't mean that you can't play. It's like, so, and people go, oh, well, people cheat on console, and I think it's like something that rarely happens. And like, the reason why is because our games, our entire libraries, and we pay to play online. So are people really going to give up if they get caught cheating their entire library of games and their gamer tag, their entire everything? Whereas on PC, all that stuff is just free. They can run a proxy or whatever they want to do and kind of just get away with it. And I think that is probably something that for me anyway, I just kind of, you just kind of look at it, you just kind of shake your head a bit, I just, I kind of just don't understand the thought process behind it. So I would love to see something happen in the future where Microsoft maybe goes back and kind of changes how they feel about things, but it just honestly doesn't feel like they're ever going to do that. And again, in the future, it's just, they're going to do what they're going to do. It's like whatever they're planning right now, is going to realistically, that's what they're going to do. They're too far ahead of it to really kind of change the thought process. So it's kind of like they're stuck doing what you're doing, and that's all there is to it. It's it's like whatever they have with AMD, whatever the numbers. It's like, the problem that I have is Xbox is already becoming more and more niche, and you're pricing out those that you do have, for the most part, a good portion of those, with something that's going to be expensive that they're not going to be able to subsidize. So, my point is like, what they're talking about sounds expensive. If the current Xbox Series X is selling for $800 with a 2 terabyte hard drive, I can't imagine what like some PC thing is going to sell for in the future that they're trying to sell you. This thing might have 2 different sets of hardware in it, like the PS3 did, right? The 80 gig PS3s had PS2 components in it so that you could play natively, and some of them didn't, but so you could play natively as well. And you can't do that. You can't do the emulation thing and sell the games in your store you know, that's against the law. You have to get the licenses for each and everything. So yeah, it is a bit unfortunate, and there's a lot of questions to ask, and hopefully they can have some answers, but it's all looking like a no for me. And it's just funny to see, you know, them lie to people and be like, oh, it's antiquated, when it's not. You know, everything has exclusive, you know, stores have exclusives, games, streaming services, everything does, you know. So you know, just don't treat us like we're stupid. That's the part I would like to kind of express. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.